Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a multi-state map. Now the key to this is to make sure that you're really organized before you start. So it's very important that you have all the images prepared, you have the text ready to go, you have the map, and you have your markers. Now in this exercise I'm going to use markers that I created myself in Photoshop, but you could just use markers just by using shapes. So a round or a square shape and filling it with a colour could be a marker on your map. So you don't need to make those outside of this program, but you need to make sure that all the other content is pre-prepared before you begin making your multi-state map. Okay, so I've got a document here which is got the digital publishing intent applied to it, so it's an iPad sort of size. And then the first thing I need to do is to put my map on the page. So I'm going to do a Command D, which is going to open up my folder where I've organised everything. I've got my London map, so I'm going to click on that and click open, and then I'm just going to drag that out onto the page. So I'm just going to drag my map out. There we go, so something like that will do. So this is the map that I'm going to use. It's going to have marker points on it, and then it's going to show images and text. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to place the images that I want to appear when people click on the marker points. So I'm going to do Command D again. I'm going to go and open up my images. Now here I am only using 4 images. You're going to be using a lot more, so I've got mine organised as London Eye large, I've got Royal Albert Hall large, St Paul's large, and the Shard large. So I'm going to click open to that. And then I'm just going to click and drag that out. I'm going to use my right arrow key to create 4 separate boxes and just drag that out across the page, and in goes my images. And I've worked on these in Photoshop again to create this kind of look and effect to them. What I'm going to do next is just click off and then grab each image and just drag it and place it on top of the other. So all the images are stacked up on top of each other. It's really important that the images were named when you did the file creation of them. So these are actually called the Shard, London Eye, and that helps identification of these files later on in this exercise. So make sure that you've got your images named sensibly as well to reflect the content that they're showing. Okay, the next thing I need to do is I need to put on my text. So I'm just going to grab the type tool and draw out a text frame. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat here because I'm just going to use placeholder text. You'll have your text pre-made already, so you'll have the text that relates to the particular tourist attraction that you're going to be going to. You'll have that text already available to you in a Word document or in a text file, but I'm just going to cheat a little bit and just use placeholder text. So I'm going to fill that with placeholder text, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the first line of that placeholder text and type in a heading. So this one is the Shard. And it's very, very important that you have like a heading because you need to identify the different text frames that you're going to create as well. So they need to have a heading that makes them easily identifiable later on. Now that I've got that one done, I'm just going to Command C and Command V that to create a second one. Now I want to place these texts over the top of each other, but it gets very tricky to see what's what. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill these frames with a white background. Now you don't have to do this, okay, but it just makes my life a little bit easier here. So if you did have a colour or a textured background, you wouldn't want to put a white background fill on these, but I am just going to do that at the moment. So I'm going to drag that one and place it right over the top, and then just change the heading in there, and this one is going to be called St Paul's, and then I'll do a Command C and Command V for that one and place that over the top as well, and then just get my type tool, and this one will be the London Eye, and then again the final one, so just Command C, Command V, and then just drag and place that again so it's exactly over the top. So all my images have to be on top of each other, all of the text has to be exactly on top of each other. Just going to go to the type tool, and this one is the Royal Albert Hall. Okay, so what I need to do now is get my marker points on this map, and like I said earlier, you can use shapes, but I've got some pre-made markers, so I'm just going to go and grab those, Command and D, and then find my markers. So I've got here the Royal Albert Hall one, and these are the pre-made markers that I've created in Photoshop, St Paul's, the Shard, and London Eye. So there's my markers, and again notice they are sensibly named so they're easily to identify later on. Again, what I'm going to do is just click and drag out here, use my arrow key to split that up into 4, and that will roughly do there. Okay, then I'm just going to place these, so London Eye will be here roughly, and then the Royal Albert Hall is over in this area, and then St. Paul's is there, and then the shard is going to be here. So these are going to act as the buttons. When people tap on these, then the images and the text is going to change to relate to what the user has tapped on. Okay, so now this is where you would have everything set up. So you need to get this position done. Now you're going to have more than this, so you're going to have up to 10 different markers and 10 images and 10 bits of text, but you need to have it in this layout. So all 10 images on top of each other, all 10 bits of text on top of each other, and your 10 marker points on your map. Okay, once you've done that, you then need to open up the layers panel window, which is over here. If you can't find it, you need to go to window and open up the layers. That opens up this panel window. Now it might be quite short. It's important that you stretch that out so that you can see it and make it quite big. Now the key thing here is what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have your St. Paul's large image to go with the St. Paul's text. And this is my text here, and that's why I gave it a heading, because then it clearly shows that this is St. Paul's. So what I'm going to do is take St. Paul's large, which is the large image, and put it with St. Paul's text. So these two are right next to each other. Okay, now I need to make sure that they both get selected. So to select them, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on this little square next to the text one and the little square next to the large image. Now I only need to select those two. I only need the image of St. Paul's and the text of St. Paul's to appear when somebody clicks on St. Paul's. You do not include the marker in this. So over here I have the St. Paul's marker, but I don't want that selected. I just want these two. Now that I've got these two little squares clicked on, I need to do Command G to place them into a group, and then I'm just going to do a double click to rename that group, and I'm going to call it St. Paul's. And it's important that you do name your groups. Again, that will be used later on. So the next one is to get the shard large, and there's the shard text. So what I'm going to do is click on the blue, hold down the Shift key, click on the blue square. So both those two are highlighted. If you had a third piece of content on here, so you had prices or directions that you had for each of the attractions, then you would have 3 separate layers that you would need to select. But in my case, I've only got 2, so Command G, and again, make sure you rename it. So I'm just going to double click or single click and call that the shard. And then I've got the Royal Albert Hall large, so I need to put that up with the Royal Albert Hall text, which is there. Again, just see it because I put the Royal Albert as the heading for that. Again, let's select those two. So again, Shift key and then Command G, and let's call that group as well. So that is going to be Royal Albert. Okay, and then finally I just need the London Eye large, and there's the London Eye text. So again, let's just highlight those two and Command G. So again, the markers are not included in these groups. The markers are all sitting outside, as well as the map is not included in the groups either. So let's just double click that, or single click, and that was London Eye. Okay, now I have my sort of 4 locations all grouped. Okay, the key thing here is that you'll have more than this. You'll have 10 of these groups, or even more if you wanted to create quite a complex map. What you need to do next is you need to select all the groups. So holding down the Shift key, you need to click on the little square next to each of the groups that you've created, so they are all highlighted. Okay, once you've done that, you then go to the window menu, you go to interactive, and you need to open up your object states panel window. Now what you can do here is you need to create new object states, and it will create those object states based on the groups that you have selected over here, and what will be in the object state will be the content that sits inside those groups. So in our case, it will be an image and text. Let's go and create them. So what it's done here is it's created 4 object states because I only had 4 groups, and you'll see that if I click on the first one, it has the Royal Albert Hall image, the Royal Albert Hall text. Next one is the London Eye image, London Eye text, and St. Paul's, St. Paul's. So everything looks like it's working perfectly. Let me just name this. I'm going to call this London map. There we go. And these are already pre-named, and they're pre-named because it took the naming from what I called the groups. If you didn't name your groups, then it would have just come up as group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4, so on. Okay, so now we've got our object states. The next key thing is then to turn these markers into buttons that will then select the object state. So I'm going to click on one of the buttons, go to the window menu, and I'm just going to go into interactive and then go to buttons and forms. Okay, so under buttons and forms, I'm just going to come in here and tell it that it is going to be a button. So I've selected one of my marker points. I'm going to call it Royal Alberts, and I'm going to set it to have an event. And on the event, I want the action to go to state. So I've just created 4 object states. I want to choose now one of those 4 object states. So there's my London map object states, and then here are the 4 object states. So Royal Albert needs to go to Royal Albert. Okay, click the next button, London Eye. So button, and let's give it the name London Eye. And then again, add the action, go to state, and that needs to go to the London Eye one. There we go. Do that one, and then St Paul's. That will be a button. Give it the name St Paul's. Add the action, go to state, and then obviously that needs to go to the state which is called St Paul's. And then the final button in my case is going to be the shard. So let's call that the shard. And then add the action, go to state, and choose your state, which is the shard. Okay, so there's some key little tips there that you must follow. So it's very important that you only group the content that you want to display when somebody actually taps one of these markers. So in your grouping, never include the marker or the map, only the content that wants to appear when the marker is clicked on. Okay, and very important you get your layers organized, get them named, and then you can create those object states. But let's test this now in Adobe Content Viewer by using Folio Preview. So when I launch Folio Preview, it will open up the Adobe Content Viewer, and then we'll be able to see whether those 4 marker points bring up the correct image and correct text that goes with this multi-state map. So when I click on London Eye, or tap London Eye, it should then change to reveal the London Eye image from the London Eye text, and the same with St Paul's, and the same with the Shard, and the same with the Royal Albert Hall. Okay, so the key to this that's perfectly working is just that you're going to have 10 points on your map and 10 images and 10 text boxes that revealed. So a little bit more work for you to do, but I've shown you how to do it, and the key to it is to make sure that you're very organized with your work to start with. So it's very important that these markers are correctly named. It's very important your images are sensibly named and your text has a sensible heading, so it can be easily identified when you go into your layers and start to do your grouping. That's absolutely crucial.